what can I really say to introduce JT Eberhard that cannot be summarized by his icon here in the proceedings?
Okay, for the record, I sent Liz 5 pictures. I said, you can use any one of these, and that one I sent as a total joke. Guess which one she picked?
Nate.
Nate? You're on my shit list and you're dead to me.
Nate, you'll be getting a raise. So JT is dressed as Captain Picard with a pirate hat on, riding a pink unicorn on a rainbow. He is also an extremely talented organizer and has been running this absolutely amazing thing called Skepticon in Missouri. And somehow he has something like 400 people signed up for his event, which is happening when?
November.
Which is happening November already.
Of this year,
and he's
thankfully.
had to change venues and is really doing some absolutely amazing campus activism. And I also understand has a slightly different approach to it than most of the rest of the Secular Student Alliance affiliates, and is here to tell us all about it. Oh, your time will run down on that. So.
Okay, sweet.
All right.
First off, some housekeeping. I ordinarily give this presentation without pictures, but I knew I was following Hemet, who I've heard is this terribly engaging speaker. So Thursday, I threw some pictures in here, and Hemet's been telling me all weekend he's going to crush me. And whoever decided it would be a good idea for me to follow him is also dead to me, because he was really, really engaging. Also, your programs say that I'm going to give a talk on a different organizational model. I don't think I'm going to have time for that. Liz invited me up here to plug Skepticon and talk about it, and so that's really what I'm going to focus on. If you want to talk about my organizational model, great. Track me down later, buy me beer or something like that, and I totally will. Okay. The history of Skepticon is actually the history of the Missouri State chapter of the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster, this group I founded. So I can't really get into how Skepticon arose without first talking about us, which sounds really pretentious, and maybe it is, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay. Once upon a time, how many are familiar with the Flying Spaghetti Monster? Okay, Bobby Henderson, physics grad, gets drunk, writes this letter to the Kansas Board of Education. I'm not making this up. I believe in a flying spaghetti monster, teach my beliefs, or I'm calling the ACLU. And he puts this online, and a friend of mine and I read this letter, and like, that's hilarious. So we decide we're going to go chalk flying spaghetti monsters all over our campus. And so we go out, we grab another friend, and we're drawing these flying spaghetti monsters, and up walks to me a campus security guard and says, are you a part of a student organization? Because you can't do that unless you're a part of a student organization. And I pretty much did what any amoral atheist would do here, and I lied. I said, yes, we're a part of a student organization. Which one? College Republicans? And thankfully for me, he bought it. But we didn't want to press our luck, just in case the FSM wasn't always looking over us. So we decided that maybe we should make a student organization so we could keep handing out pamphlets and chalking flying spaghetti monsters and not get in trouble for it. So we looked up what it would take. Apparently you only need 5 people, bylaws, and a constitution that are approved by student government. And we're like, sweet, we have all of those things. So we had the 5 people who drew up the bylaws. It passed student government by 3 votes. But we got in. So we keep chalking flying spaghetti monsters, keep handing out pamphlets, and we decide, well, we're going to do something a little more interesting, have some more fun. In downtown Springfield on Friday and Saturday nights, there's this group of Mennonites who stand on a corner with signs that say things like, the party ends in hell. To marry a divorced woman is adultery. So we decide to go to a corner across the way and proselytize our own religion. And people loved this. This is David Berger. He was the co-founder of the Church of the FSM with me. This is Lauren Lane, who would go on to co-found Skepticon. And it was a big hit. Everybody loved us. And so we just, walked around campus, holding signs. Oh, yeah, this is a FSM...
Your hair.
Yeah, I had hair, it turns out. There's even more beneath the bandana. The surgery was long and painful. But we sold this on eBay for $40. It made a whole bunch of websites and whatnot. And we're like, sweet, our joke organization has $40. Tee-hee-hee-hee-hee. And here's another guy with a fun sign. And also, it should be noted that we filed our organization as a religious organization. Like, if you look between, like, I think Christian Campus House and Campus Crusade for Christ, you'll find Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster on the MSU website. Okay. So, Jen McCrate talked about this guy. This is Brother Jed. This is a very, where's Jen McCrate? Jen, you know Brother Jed. Sweetie. He is this very vitriolic street preacher, goes around to campuses. I've seen him, no joke, get onto people for premarital holding hands. Not lying. So he came to our campus. So we went out and we were handing out pamphlets and chalking flying spaghetti monsters, tee-hee-hee. And we actually tried to engage him in conversation. And Jen, you can imagine how well this went. So we decided we need to find some other way to handle people like Brother Jed. Oh, and for the record, how many of you are familiar with Tim Minchin? Yeah, I'm going to take a page out of his book right now and say, if you are offended by strong language or blasphemy, might want to pop out for 5 minutes at this point. So what can we do? Well, this is stuff like this. Yeah. And here we all are with him. More on Brother J later, but the whole thing is, this guy is our director of recruitment and doesn't even know it. We love this guy. So we have this joke organization. We start out with 5 members. So Brother Jed visits and 25 people sign up. We're like, okay. Then the Victory Mission comes. The Victory Mission is this group that runs a soup kitchen in downtown Springfield that will feed the poor if they sign a contract agreeing to attend church X amount of days. They're not very cool. So we go out and we do the same thing with them. And 40 people sign up. Okay, tee-hee-hee-hee-hee. Brother Jed comes back again, and at the end of our first semester, we have 128 members. We had never meant to be an organization. We had never meant to have an army, to do anything. And here we are with 128 people clamoring, what are we going to do next? So here's an interesting fact. If you ever see those like white postage boxes, they're a rectangle. If you actually go to the post office and buy one, they'll charge you for them. But if you order 500, they assume you're a small business and they just give them to you. So we went and got a bunch of them. Because we knew the Victory Mission, the soup kitchen assholes, we knew they were coming back. And so here we are all night. You can almost like hear the Rocky theme in the background. This is actually the small version. It would go on to get bigger, and we would actually decorate it. Pirate. Okay, so we build this fort. And there it is from the inside on the day of. And you can actually see them up on the Bear Paw. And the Bear Paw is the free speech zone. And it was there all day. We hand out pamphlets. People are joining our group in droves. We've chalked. We knew where they would pull up to unload their stuff. And we had gone to like that space and chalked a big Jolly Roger and written, "Ye be warned." So they get out of their van and they see this big-ass fort, and like 50 pirates all behind us, and me and who was the president of the organization at the time standing on their space in pirate gear, pirate flag billowing in the breeze, and just, this is what they walk out to. Tee-hee-hee. So after semester 2, our membership has climbed to over 250. All of them, what are we going to do next? And we're like, we don't know. We wanted to chalk and hand out pamphlets. Tee-hee-hee. So, yeah. So we never decided to have, like a board of officers or anything like that. We never expected to be bigger than 5 people. We're a little confused at this point. Put that on YouTube. So, if you are offended by strong language and blasphemy. Okay. So why the word fuck? Okay. So next semester, one of my members wanted to put on an outdoor concert. He knew a lot of bands, and I gave him the green light to do this. I was out of town. I couldn't be there. But it was an all-day event, very, very well attended. A bunch of local bands played. But apparently, when the second band was up there, a campus security guard came up to him and said, "Your band is saying fuck. They can't do that." And because he didn't want to lose the space, he said okay, and never told me. I found out about it 3 weeks later when the story broke in the campus paper, and I was like, that's not right. So we mobilized. We're like, this is not right, and we elected to push back. Here we are, making a bunch of signs one cold Friday, and these signs would all say fuck, or some semblance of fuck. And at peak, there were 100 of us out there. These are actually MSU cheerleaders who came by and saw us and decided they want to take some videos and pictures of doing throws with fuck signs. Actually, also a Red Bull truck came by during this and gave us free Red Bull because they supported free speech. I found out that day that I hate Red Bull. This I'm glad the inclusion of pictures worked. I was worried that it would be hard to integrate. I wouldn't able to get this without pictures. This is actually when things were calming down. You can see all the people in the background. We actually had like that whole space filled up at one point. And the thing is, the campus loved it. The teachers loved it. The students loved it. The community, the extremely religious community we're a part of, went apeshit over this. Like, it was in the paper for a freaking month. Like, it literally got to the point where I almost stopped answering my phone. And the thing is, for all the people out there, is like, you're hurting the movement. This is obscene. Isn't there a better way to go about it? No, actually. I was getting... Where's Chris Stedman? No, okay. I love Chris Stedman. Okay, anyway. But the thing is, like, you'd think, like, religious people would be like, oh, I don't want to talk to those guys. They're assholes with their fuck and their fort and their... But the thing is, like, they were actually getting pressure, I found out, from their membership. Like, why aren't you combating this J.T. Eberhard and Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster? Shouldn't you be, like, this guy is atheism. Why aren't you putting him in his place? And I was getting invites to do debates at colleges that weren't even mine. And I did. And eventually this stopped because they realized that, they were going to lose. But really, it was a tough situation for them, and it actually prompted them to engage us more because we were this public front. Okay, I forget what's coming up next. Hopefully it's another picture. Yes, okay. This is Dean Jungers, who actually came out to our protest and was like, I agree. That's why I'm shaking hands with him, with my long hair. But anyway, he called us an emergency meeting of student government that day, and they passed legislation to ensure that we could say fuck on the bear paw. So we actually got what we wanted, which agitated the community even more. Dum-de-dum-dum-dum-dum-dum. Okay, so... You don't even know what's coming! I have this her video. Dum-de-dum-dum-dum-dum-dum. Okay. Hang on. Whoa. There's a reason God invented mouses. Touchpads suck. Okay. Now let's hypothetically imagine I'm not getting volume. Oh, it's because volume's not on this computer. 1 second. 7 years of college.
I'm pretty wet. Sounds like fucking fish in there.
See, young people, God has given us a sexual appetite, sexual urges. But the only legitimate expression of our sexual appetite or urges is in the sanctity of holy matrimony.
This is part of Jedfest, and I'm kind of the flag-carrying heretic on my campus. I tell people that Christianity is mythology a lot, and that pisses them off. So today we're giving them a shot at retribution. You can pay $1 to help fight world hunger to douse me with a water balloon.
And you're pretty wet right now.
I'm pretty wet.
The lake?
This looks like fucking fish in there. You like that shit, don't you?
While we strive to figure out a way we can survive these trying times without losing our minds. So if you want to burn yourself, remember that I love you. And if you want to cut yourself, remember that I love you. And if you want to kill yourself, remember that I love you. Call me up before you're dead. We can make some plans instead. Send me and I'll be your friend. Dice your lips and scheme a scheme and my fourth-quarter pipe dreams are seeming more and more worth fighting for. So I'll curate some situations, make my job a big vacation. I will say fuck Bush and fuck this war. My war paint is Sharpie ink and I'll show you how much 5 cents is. Ask you what you think because your thoughts and words are powerful. They think we're disposable, we're disposable. Spell it on a double word and triple letters for it. We won't stop until somebody calls the cops, and even then we'll start again and just pretend that Larry with a sword, be careful. Somebody calls the cops, and even then we'll start again and just pretend that nothing ever happened. We won't stop until somebody calls the cops, and even then we'll start again and just pretend that nothing ever happened. We won't stop until somebody calls the cops, and even then we'll start again and just pretend that nothing ever happened. We're just dancing, we're just hugging, singing, screaming, kissing, tugging on the sleeve of how we used to be.
We're out of your hair in just a second. Jed has agreed that if we raise $100 tonight, we'll take a water balloon. So if you guys want to see this, dig deep, throw some money. It all goes to Heifer International.
Wow, 83? 84?
84, you guys! 88, you guys! 89! We are at $89. We need $11 more. Come on, you guys! I've got 22 cents!
That's be 97.
Here. Here.
We got it!
OMG! This is the best thing that ever happened. Ever. This is a highlight.
You, everybody, one more round of applause for Jed. We're going to see a lot of
Glad we will get you nowhere. Don't think I'm going to ease up on you people at all. Jed,
Who can tell me how much money is in this jar? $100. What are we going to get for it?
Jesus. Get away.
Get away. Get away. Everybody, 1, 2, 3.
Oh.
I believe in evolution. I think that we're actual human beings.
We're going to skip the outtakes. Never let it be said that I'm incapable with working with opposing groups. Actually, an interesting story there. The way that wound up happening is I went up to Brother Jed and said, hey, if we can raise $100 to feed the homeless in the next 15 minutes, will you let us throw a water balloon at you? And he was like, yeah, whatever, kid, if you can do it, great. And we had it in 8. And everybody wanted me to throw the water balloon, but there was actually a girl there earlier, a lesbian, that he had made cry. And so we decided to give it to her, which is probably why it hit his face with such velocity. Remember what Greta said earlier about making people like this into your ally. It can be done. They may not know it, and they may find out. They might find out later and be like, shit. But it can be done. And mockery, yeah, it motivates people. It has inspired our campus. For the record, where we live is the headquarters of the Assemblies of God is in this town. There are 12 religious colleges: Drury, Evangel, Central Bible College, Baptist Bible College, yada, 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 yada. It's a very religious area. We have a lot of support. Mockery, it gets the job done sometimes. Okay. So Jedfest. So we've done all this, and I've actually left out a whole bunch of stuff. We've done a whole bunch of similar events, but I can't compact it all into this little format. But we decided we want to try to bring some speakers, and that was what would eventually become Skepticon 1. We actually didn't even call it Skepticon. We just called it Skeptics. We hadn't intended for it to be anything spectacular. We brought P.Z. Myers and Richard Carrier, who's my hero. I love him.
Oh, yeah.
Richard and I are to be married. No. I know. So we bring in Richard Carrier, P.Z. Myers. 250 people attend. And it's free to get in. We managed to raise all the money for it. Win. So Peasy and Dr. Carrier, I'm supposed to keep calling him Richard, but I keep calling him Dr. Carrier because he's that cool. Richard and Peasy ask us if we're going to do it again, and we say sure. So that would eventually become Skepticon 2, which looks so cool. I know, right? That's DJ Grothy there on the end, Rebecca Watson and Dan Barker over there. They were our first yeses. We actually just started throwing out emails to everybody and their dog and be like, hey, will you come here? Because we're like, getting shot down is free. And we found that most of them, say like, yeah, we actually heard about what you did last year. Let me see if we can work it out. So we kept PZ and Dr. Carrier. And we added Rebecca Watson, Dan Barker, DJ Grothy, Victor Stenger, who wrote God, the Failed Hypothesis, which is a great book. Joe Nickel. How many of you know Joe Nickel? Oh my God. Okay, well you all have to come to Skepticon 3 then, because Joe Nickel is a hoot. He works at the CFI. He's the world's only full-time paranormal investigator. The man is badass, and he gives a great talk on critical speaking. I know this is never going to go on YouTube. I'm saying badass fuck. And Robert Price. This is our flyer for it. Yeah. And what is funny about this? Yeah. And actually, I wound up giving a talk there because by this point, we were if you go to Springfield, Missouri, and say Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster at MSU, someone's either going to go, oh yeah, those guys, they're funny, or oh, those assholes. But there's no middle ground. Everybody knows who we are, and so there's actually a bunch of requests from the local community that I gave a talk. So I actually gave a really brief 30-minute talk there, and once again, we managed to raise all the money for it. 400 people came in, and it was free. Win. Which brings us to today. That was way anticlimactic. Okay. Skepticon 3. We've managed to keep a lot of the big name speakers from before. Rebecca Watson from Skepchick, Dr. Carrier. DJ Grothy is also coming back. And we've added some new faces. How many people recognize her? When we were at Buffalo Wild Wings last night, I was positively shit-faced, courtesy of Lucy Gubbins and Roy Nation. And one of the few things I remember of the night is walking up to Debbie and being like, you are the most exemplary human being ever. And being skeptical, she looks at me and says, why? I said, because you've done so much for the skeptic movement. You've made a difference to everybody in this room who's made a difference to so many people. You work so many hours, and I meant every word of it. Debbie has been such an inspiration to all of us, and it is absolutely... actually, I didn't invite her to speak at Skepticon. I was looking for more women to promote diversity. And she sent me an email. I was like, what about me? And like, we'd actually talked about this before, and like she was actually my first pick as a female to invite, but she had said like, public speaking, it's not really my thing. I do it because it's awesome, but I love doing what I do. And so at that point, I was like, oh, please, please, please. And we were actually talking about this the other night, and she was like, there's this other speaker who's really, really good you could bring. I was like, no, you don't get out. Now that I know you're in, you are locked in. Okay. I'm done doting on Debbie because she's wonderful. How many of you read Pandagon? Well, oh, just two? Well, this is Amanda Marcotte. She's famous. She's coming.
Fame, yay!
Yeah. And Sam Singleton, atheist evangelist. Actually, I had seen Sam's stuff online. I've been like, yeah, he's okay, but like no great shakes. He actually came to Springfield, and it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen in my life. The guy's amazing. So we did a Q&A, and I was the first one with my hand up. He's like, you there? I was like, have you heard of Skepticon? Oh, yeah. Would you like to speak there? Yes. Done. And he's actually, he comes in with a pulpit and does the whole evangelist thing, and he's going to be opening up our Sunday session. Tee-hee-hee. We also got this guy who's okay. We started with 2 speakers back in the day. We went to 9 last year, including me. This year we're up to 14 speakers. And so attendance. Why is the 70% here crossed out? When I got into Columbus on Thursday, I decided I was following Hemet. I need pictures. So I went to the SSA office and was putting together this PowerPoint presentation, and I checked registration. I was like, okay, 70%. Yesterday, 2 days after that day, I went back to retrieve it off that computer, and things had changed. It's at 79% today. This is in November. Yeah, so we'll get to that in a second. Yeah, this is also not counting walk-ins, which accounted for over half our traffic last year. Cost is still free. That's awesome. And the reason is because we have to try and find a new venue now. Venues cost money. When you're not charging money to get in, money's hard to come by in the buckle of the Bible Belt. Actually, funny story, one of the things we're thinking about doing for like a behind the scenes is dressing up and going to local businesses and filming this and walking into local business in the middle of the Bible Belt and saying, hey, we're putting on this huge atheist convention. We're bringing people in to criticize the cherished beliefs of pretty much everybody in this area, and if you'll donate to it, we'll put your business's name on the flyer. And just making a montage of those and the reactions. You can imagine what they're going to be. So how are we trying to raise money to swap venues so we don't have to turn away 1,000 people? We're making a skepdude type calendar with Rebecca Watson's blessing. This is actually a bunch of our models in a bar setting. And this is a long exposure. They're actually tracing the letters out with pen lights of Skepticon 3. And they had to do it backwards, which took a while to coordinate. But we've had this outpouring of support. We're having professional photographers in Buffalo, New York City, London, Columbia, Missouri, Fayetteville, Arkansas, and a bunch of other places, as well as Springfield. Are you a professional photographer?
No, but I know probably who you're talking about. I'm from Fayetteville.
Look me up and find some people who have no modesty. But we're making this calendar. We put it together in 2 weeks. It actually just completed production Friday, and we'll get it to the printer, have it out in another 2 weeks, and then we're going to start selling it. If any of you want to try selling some of these on your campus for us to help us raise money to get a new venue, Liz, if you want to help through SSA, great! All the help we can, because we have to raise money to get the venue. I'm not going to start charging people. We said it was going to be free. We're going to keep it free. But it's hard, and it takes a lot of work. This is the moral point of the story. There's a whole point in me hiking you to this point. And this is actually the best part of G.I. Joe cartoons. Now you know. You've sat here for the last 20 minutes and you've listened to me give this long-ass narrative with all these stories. And at no point in there should you have heard anywhere where Richard Dawkins descended from on high and helped us put this together. We started out as 5 students. We still have a very small core group of volunteers. And none of us, and I'm not just being falsely modest here, none of us are anything special. We never were. I'm an undergraduate in music. Lauren, who co-founded this, who filled out all our tax paperwork and made us a 501c3, she has a degree in art. You know, we're just people who wanted to make this happen. And I think what stops other things like this from happening is not lack of special people, lack of passion. It's just that we're so constrained by convention that we think we have to be special to put on something like this. And that is absolutely 100% not the case. And that's all I have to say. Good luck.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
That was excellent.